train your mind, and you train your destiny. That is the simple truth. The thoughts you hold, the beliefs you entertain, the pictures you carry in your mental landscape, all of these are the blueprint from which your future is built. Most people do not understand this. They live reactive lives shaped by circumstance instead of cause, shaped by fears instead of principles, shaped by the noise of the world rather than the quiet conviction of inner purpose. But you, if you're listening to this, have already stepped into a different path. You've chosen to learn the laws that govern not only the external world of finances and success, but the inner world of peace, wisdom, and spiritual harmony. For those who truly wish to attract both spiritual and financial wealth, the journey begins not with money, not with action, and not even with intention, but with thought. It begins with the mind, because the mind, properly trained, is a magnet for everything worthwhile in life. Let me invite you now to fully engage with this message, not passively, not casually, but with the kind of focused attention that changes lives. If you're watching or listening, pause just for a moment and subscribe to the wisdom that has carried men and women through storms, doubts, and poverty into abundance and peace. Let this be more than just another video or recording. Let it be a turning point. For today we'll begin a series of revelations, old truths, yes, but truths forgotten by many. They are timeless, they work whether you're young or old, rich or poor, spiritual or pragmatic. If you listen with an open heart and a mind ready to be trained, what you learn here will stay with you for the rest of your life. Most people think wealth and spirituality are in conflict. They picture the rich man as shallow and the spiritual man as poor. But this is a false dichotomy. The truth is that both wealth and spiritual power are governed by the same laws. The man who understands the law of service, for example, will see his finances grow because he learns to give more than he takes. The woman who walks by faith will begin to attract opportunity, peace, and prosperity, not because she forces life to comply, but because her mind is aligned with divine order. You see, success is not about manipulation, it's about alignment. Just as a seed, when placed in fertile soil and given proper light and care, will grow into the tree it was destined to become, so will your life bloom when your thoughts are aligned with the laws of life. And here's where we must be very precise. The mind must be trained. It must be disciplined. It must be taught what to think and what to dismiss. Left unchecked, the mind is a garden overrun with weeds. It will grow fear instead of faith, doubt instead of direction, chaos instead of clarity. But when we become conscious gardeners of our own thought life, we begin to shape something powerful. We begin to carry in our minds a vision, and we water that vision daily with repetition, belief, and gratitude. And in time, always in time, it becomes reality. Not by magic, not by luck, but by law. One such law which I encourage you to reflect on and even comment below as a declaration is this: I attract abundance through clarity, faith, and service. Say it out loud, write it down, type it below, let it sink in. The laws of thought respond to belief backed by feeling, and belief is shaped through repetition. You are training your mind every day, whether you know it or not. The only question is, what are you training it to believe, to expect, to attract? Let me make something very clear. This is not wishful thinking. This is not a vague hope wrapped in poetic language. It is the foundation of every successful life. Every man or woman who has risen above poverty, who has overcome sickness, who has built something meaningful in this world, whether a business, a ministry, or a family, has done so by mastering their mind first. They saw the end from the beginning. They acted in faith. They gave more than was required. And above all, they refused to let fear or confusion govern their decisions. There is a divine pattern to all great achievement. And when you begin to study that pattern, not just intellectually but practically, you begin to discover that wealth and spirituality are not two roads but one. That same power which lets you forgive others is the same power that lets you take courageous action in your work. The same clarity you use in prayer or meditation is the same clarity that allows you to make wise investments or build a meaningful business. When the mind is trained to see truth, it sees it everywhere, in the boardroom and in the quiet moments of solitude. There is no division, only alignment. Now let us take a moment to plant the seed properly. In your mind right now, I want you to form a clear image, not vague or cloudy, but specific. Imagine the life you were meant to live. One of peace, one of power, one of abundance, both material and spiritual. Picture it, feel it, believe that it already exists, because in the realm of thought, it does. Your job is not to force it into reality, but to align yourself with it, to walk toward it daily, thought by thought, step by step. Over the next 7 parts, I will walk you through the precise structure of thought, discipline, belief, and action that attracts both spiritual harmony and financial prosperity. But we begin here with the mind, for as the ancient scripture says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Let this truth be the cornerstone upon which you build everything else. Comment it below, say it aloud, declare it now. I attract abundance through clarity, faith, and service. Most people fail not because they lack talent or desire, but because they never truly take possession of their own minds. They live on autopilot, allowing their environment, their past, or the opinions of others to dictate their thoughts. But the mind, like any powerful instrument, must be consciously directed. And if you do not train it, it will default to fear. It will default to limitation. It will accept mediocrity as destiny. This is why those who train their minds are the ones who build wealth, who create peace, who walk with quiet confidence through life. They are not ruled by their circumstances. They shape their circumstances with the quiet, unshakable force of intention. Your thoughts are seeds and your life is the harvest. Most people plant without knowing it and then wonder why weeds grow where they hoped for roses. But you, if you're listening to this, are not most people. You're here because something in you is ready to plant deliberately. Let's explore how this training begins. The first step is awareness. You must become aware of your current pattern of thinking. Just observe it without judgment, without fear. What do you habitually think about? Do your thoughts lean toward hope, possibility, and progress? Or do they lean toward worry, doubt, and distraction? Most people spend their days worrying about things that will never happen, doubting their own worth, comparing themselves to others, or rehashing the past. These are thought habits, deep grooves in the mind, carved by repetition. And the only way to change them is to become aware of them. Awareness is the gate. Until you see your thoughts clearly, you cannot change them. Now that we are aware, we move to the second step, intention. You must choose deliberately the thoughts you will cultivate. This is where real power begins. Choose thoughts of abundance. Choose thoughts of peace. Choose thoughts of service and gratitude. Choose to believe that your future is shaped not by fate, but by the beliefs you hold now. And reaffirm those beliefs again and again until they become second nature. This is how you train your mind, not in one day, not in one burst of enthusiasm, but with daily discipline. This is why so few do it, because it requires more than inspiration. It requires responsibility. But oh, what a reward it brings. Let me be clear. Your thoughts must not only be positive, they must be aligned. There is a difference. A man may say, "I am wealthy," but if he still feels fear in his heart, if he still clings to doubt, if he still acts from lack, then his thoughts are not aligned. True thought training does not mean mere affirmation. It means harmony between what you think, what you feel, and how you act. When your words, emotions, and actions all point in the same direction, that is when the law begins to respond. That is when you begin to attract not just financial wealth, but spiritual richness. That is when life begins to move in your favor. There is a law I want you to remember today, and I want you to write it below, speak it aloud, and carry it in your mind all day. I align my thoughts, feelings, and actions with abundance and peace. Say it slowly. Say it with feeling. And understand this, the mind responds to repetition and emotion. It is not enough to merely hear this once. Repeat it again and again. Let it echo in your mind until it becomes the dominant frequency of your life. Because that is how the laws of thought are activated, not through casual interest, but through deep conviction. There is a story I often think of when I teach this principle. A man once asked a sage, "How can I get what I want in life?" The sage replied, "Tell me what you think about most, and I will tell you what you will become." This man thought long and hard and realized that his mind was filled with fear, fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of loss. And the sage told him, "Then you will become the embodiment of those fears." You see, the universe does not discriminate between good and bad thoughts. It simply amplifies what you hold with conviction. Hold fear, and fear grows. Hold faith, and faith becomes your strength. The choice is always yours. This leads us to the third step of mind training, repetition. Repetition is the path by which new beliefs are carved into the subconscious. The mind is a creature of habit, and it resists change at first. That is why you must persist. You must repeat your vision, your affirmation, your belief, not once, not twice, but daily. Let your mind become saturated with your goal. Let it be the lens through which you see the world. And in time, sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once, your world will begin to change to match it. This is not theory, this is law. And those who work with the law prosper. Those who ignore it struggle. Do not let the simplicity of this fool you. People are often looking for complex answers, elaborate systems, or shortcuts. But the truth is simple. The truth has always been simple. You become what you think about. You attract what you focus on. You grow what you nurture. If your life is not where you want it to be, change your thoughts, and everything else will follow. The most powerful change is always internal first. And once you take full ownership of your thoughts, no circumstance will ever be able to rule you again. You will walk with quiet power. You will move with certainty. You will become one of the few who understand and live by the laws of life. And so I ask you now, what are you thinking? What have you been thinking today, this week, this year? Are those thoughts worthy of your future? Are they aligned with your goals? If not, now is the moment to begin again. Right now, not tomorrow, not later. The mind is yours to command, but only if you take command of it. Let this message be your signal. Let this be the hour where you shift from drifting to directing, from reacting to creating, from fear to faith. Because it is possible, because it is necessary, and because your life is too important to leave to chance. We will continue in the next part by going deeper into the laws that govern mental magnetism, the invisible but unstoppable power that pulls opportunity, resources, people, and purpose toward those who train their inner world. But for now, repeat and comment this truth. I align my thoughts, feelings, and actions with abundance and peace. There is a great unseen power working in your life at this very moment. It does not sleep. It does not forget. It does not discriminate between success or failure. It only delivers what you feed it. That power is the subconscious mind. And most people, never having been taught the rules, go through life feeding this mind with fear, lack, resentment, and confusion. Then they wonder why their lives mirror those very things. But those who understand even slightly that the subconscious is always listening, always accepting, always responding, begin to change everything. Because the subconscious mind is the soil, and your conscious thoughts are the seeds. It will grow whatever you plant. It has no choice. It is the most obedient force in your entire life. And when you begin to direct it intentionally, you step into a level of personal power that only a few ever experience. This is not magic. This is mental law. Think of the subconscious like a vast, fertile field. You can plant corn or you can plant poison. The soil doesn't care. It will return whatever is planted multiplied. The only difference between success and struggle is the awareness of this law and the discipline to plant wisely. Every word you say, every belief you hold, every image you replay in your mind is a seed. And day by day, those seeds are growing, forming habits, guiding decisions, attracting people, shaping events. Most people think they are victims of life, but the truth is they are simply harvesting yesterday's thoughts. If you want a better life, plant better thoughts. If you want peace, plant peace. If you want wealth, plant ideas of service, contribution, and gratitude. It really is that simple. Not easy, but simple. And yet, because it is simple, most dismiss it. They look for complicated systems, clever strategies, or lucky breaks. They never realize that the most powerful transformation begins in silence, with a single thought, repeated until it becomes a belief. That belief becomes a filter. That filter becomes a behavior, and the behavior shapes the outcome. This is the chain reaction that builds lives, and you are holding the match. You decide what ignites and what stays dormant. The world responds not to what you want, but to what you believe. And belief is nothing more than a repeated thought charged with emotion. If you want to believe in abundance, you must repeat it. If you want to believe in peace, you must feel it. If you want to live in alignment with truth, you must reject every lie that says you are less than worthy, less than able, less than enough. Now let me give you a practical way to begin working with this law right now. I want you to take 5 minutes, just 5, and write down the exact person you want to become. Not just what you want to have. That will come, but who do you want to be? Do you want to be calm, focused, joyful, and strong? Do you want to be generous, fearless, and deeply connected to a purpose greater than yourself? Write it out. Make it vivid. The subconscious loves clarity. And once you've written it, I want you to begin each morning by reading it aloud. Do this not as a wish, but as a statement, a claim, a decision. because that is how you train the mind, by speaking the vision until your nervous system begins to accept it as familiar, as true, as home. Let me be clear, the subconscious is your greatest servant or your quietest saboteur. It depends entirely on how you treat it. You cannot speak of lack all day and expect prosperity. You cannot rehearse bitterness and expect peace. You cannot fill your inner world with fear and walk in faith. The subconscious is neutral. It doesn't care what you feed it, but it never forgets what you do, and it always delivers in time. That's why today's thoughts are tomorrow's circumstances. And that's why those who train the subconscious with love, discipline, and clarity rise above the noise of the world. They seem lucky, but they are not lucky. They are aligned. There is a truth I want you to memorize now, and I want you to write it in the comments, say it aloud, and keep it close for the rest of the day. I program my subconscious mind for peace, purpose, and prosperity. Let that become your rhythm. Let that become your default. Every time you feel fear rise, replace it with this truth. Every time a doubt sneaks in, override it with this law. You are not a victim of your subconscious, you are its teacher, and it will become whatever you train it to be. Let us look at how the great men and women of history used this law. Every one of them, whether prophet, poet, leader, or inventor, spoke and lived their vision before it became visible. They saw things in their minds long before others could see them in the world. They rehearsed success until it became a reality. They rejected limitation not because they were delusional, but because they understood the creative power of belief. They spoke what they intended. They acted from their vision, not their circumstances. And because of that, their subconscious minds aligned with their goals, drawing the necessary people, resources, and timing to make it so. And so must you. If you want to rise above the crowd, you must think above the crowd. If you want uncommon results, you must engage in uncommon disciplines. And the greatest of these is mind training. It is invisible work. It is slow work. But it is the most important work you will ever do. Because once the subconscious mind accepts a truth, it works day and night to bring it to life. It becomes the compass, the engine, the invisible magnet pulling you forward, even when you doubt, even when you struggle, even when nothing seems to move. This is not magic. It is order, divine order, and it has never failed. So pause now and ask yourself, what have I been feeding my subconscious? What thoughts have I been rehearsing? What feelings have I been bathing in? The answers may not be easy, but they are necessary, because once you see what you've been planting, you can choose to plant something new. And that choice, that single decision to take control of your inner world, is the beginning of everything. It is the turning point. It is the moment when your life stops happening to you and begins to happen through you. We will continue in Part 4 by exploring the laws of expectation and emotional frequency, how the energy behind your thoughts amplifies your results, and how spiritual wealth is the bridge to sustainable prosperity. But before we go, affirm this law once more. Write it, say it, claim it. I program my subconscious mind for peace, purpose, and prosperity. Expectation is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the magnetic force that takes what exists only in thought and begins to shape it into experience. You see, it is not enough to simply think a thought, you must expect it to unfold. Most people sabotage themselves not because they think small, but because they expect disappointment. They carry in their minds a quiet assumption that things will go wrong, that they'll never truly break through, that some hidden force is working against them, and that silent belief, never spoken aloud but deeply felt, shapes their outcomes. Life meets you at the level of your expectation, and when your expectation is weak, your results will be small. But when your expectation is strong, charged with faith, vision, and emotional certainty, life begins to organize itself in your favor. Think of a radio dial. You can have the most powerful transmitter in the world, but if your receiver isn't tuned to the right frequency, you'll hear nothing but static. Your thoughts are the transmitter, your emotions are the receiver, and expectation is the tuner that brings everything into clarity. When your thoughts are aligned with abundance and your emotions feel as if the result is already yours, you create resonance, and resonance is the secret behind all manifestation. This is why belief alone is not enough. You must feel the belief. You must live in the emotional state of having already received what you desire. You must tune your inner world to the frequency of your intended reality. And when you do, when your thoughts, feelings, and expectations are in harmony, then the result is not only possible, it is inevitable. This is what most people miss. They affirm a goal with their words, but contradict it with their emotions. They say, "I want wealth," but they feel anxious every time they look at their bank account. They say, "I desire peace," but they wake up every day expecting conflict. The subconscious mind, as we learned, responds not to words but to feeling. It reads the emotional signature behind your thoughts, and if the feeling contradicts the thought, it is the feeling that wins. That's why training your mind is only half the equation. The other half is mastering your emotional state. You must learn to feel the way you would feel if the result were already true, and then carry that feeling as your default state day after day until the world responds accordingly. Let me give you a principle you can use right now. Ask yourself this simple question. If I already had everything I desired, spiritually, financially, emotionally, how would I feel? Sit with that question. Let your mind picture it. Let your body feel it. Let your breathing slow, your shoulders drop, your heart open. That feeling, that relaxed confidence, that quiet gratitude, that grounded joy is the state that attracts everything you want. And your job is to dwell in that state more and more each day. You do this not by denying current reality, but by holding firm to your vision in spite of it. That is faith. That is mastery. That is the mark of a trained mind. And here is the law I want you to imprint now. Write it below. Speak it aloud. Meditate on it until it becomes a part of you. I expect greatness, and life delivers it to me daily. Let that become your internal script. Let it override every limiting story you've ever been told, because the world will always echo back what you truly expect, not what you wish for, not what you pretend, but what you honestly, emotionally, deeply believe is coming to you. Change your expectation, and you change your outcomes. It is as clear and as powerful as that. Let us remember, your emotions are not your enemy. They are your guidance system. When you feel fear, it is not a failure, it is feedback. It is showing you that your expectation is misaligned with your desire. And when you feel gratitude, joy, calm, confidence, and inner peace, that's when you know you're aligned. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to return again and again to the emotional frequency of your intended reality. That's what spiritual discipline really is. Not rigid control, but conscious return. Again and again, until it becomes natural, until it becomes you. Let me tell you a story. A young man once came to a teacher and asked, "Why do I keep failing? I think positively, I repeat my affirmations. I do the work, but nothing changes." The teacher looked at him and said, "Because you expect nothing to change." That single sentence carried more power than 1,000 books. You can speak all the right words, you can do all the right actions, but if your expectation is laced with doubt, you poison the process. That is why the wise man trains both the mind and the heart. He feeds the intellect with truth and the emotions with feeling. He doesn't just know he is worthy, he feels it. And that feeling unlocks doors that effort alone cannot open. If you begin each day expecting good, you will start to notice good. If you expect opportunity, you will begin to see it. If you expect favor, you will find it. This is not fantasy, it is focus. Your brain filters the world through what it expects, and you are the one adjusting the lens. Train yourself to expect peace. Train yourself to expect provision. Train yourself to expect creative ideas, supportive people, and divine timing. And over time, those expectations will turn into patterns. Those patterns will turn into results, and those results will reinforce the very beliefs that created them. This is the virtuous cycle of growth. We are not speaking today of mere optimism. We are speaking of spiritual alignment with universal law. The law that says you reap what you sow. The law that says your outer world mirrors your inner state. The law that says you are the master of your mind, the steward of your emotions, and the architect of your future. And it all begins with expectation. Expectation is permission. When you expect wealth, you give yourself permission to receive it. When you expect peace, you give your nervous system permission to relax. When you expect spiritual growth, you give your soul permission to expand. We will continue in Part 5 by exploring the discipline of silence and how mastering your inner voice is the final filter for both spiritual clarity and financial increase. But until then, repeat and claim today's law with full emotional conviction. I expect greatness, and life delivers it to me daily. There is a dimension of power that most people overlook entirely, the power of silence. In a world addicted to noise, distraction, and endless stimulation, silence has become a forgotten treasure. Yet silence is the birthplace of clarity. It is where your real thoughts rise to the surface, where your spiritual compass resets and where the voice of truth becomes audible again. You cannot attract true wealth, spiritual or financial, while your mind is clouded with constant chatter. For the mind to be trained, it must be quieted. For wisdom to emerge, there must be space. For purpose to become clear, there must be stillness. And so today we enter the sacred ground of silence, not as absence, but as presence, not as emptiness, but as the soil in which all meaningful thought takes root. You see, your inner voice has been speaking to you your entire life, sometimes softly, sometimes urgently, sometimes drowned out by the opinions of others, the noise of media, the busyness of survival. But it is always there, your conscience, your spirit, your guiding intelligence, and until you learn to hear it, you will remain susceptible to every outer distraction. This is why so many chase success but never feel peace. They are running toward achievement, but ignoring alignment. Real success begins in quiet. The clearest ideas, the most powerful affirmations, the deepest convictions. They are born not in chaos, but in calm. And once you begin to train your mind in silence, you begin to hear what others miss. You begin to discern between urgency and truth, between distraction and destiny. The disciplined man or woman does not fear silence. They welcome it. Because they understand that silence reveals, it shows you what you've been thinking, what you've been fearing, what you've been believing at the deepest level. Most people are afraid to sit with themselves in silence because silence unmasks them. It strips away the performance, the pretense, the programming. But this is exactly why it is so necessary. In silence, you face yourself. And once you face yourself honestly, you can begin to reprogram yourself deliberately. That's where power begins, not in the next podcast or productivity hack, but in the quiet moment where you take full ownership of your inner world. And so here is your practice. Every day for at least 10 minutes, sit in complete silence. No phone, no talking, no music, just you, your breath, and your awareness. Let your thoughts come and go. Do not fight them, simply observe. And as you do, ask one question. What is the next right step for me? You may not hear an answer right away. That's fine, the value is in the listening. Because when the noise quiets down, the guidance will rise. And that guidance, once followed, will lead you not just to success, but to peace. And that, my friend, is the real wealth. For what good is financial abundance if your spirit is restless? What good is a beautiful house if your mind is in turmoil? The truly wealthy are those whose outer lives are a reflection of their inner order. There is a powerful affirmation I want you to adopt today. Speak it aloud, write it down, and type it below if you're ready to make it your own. I master my inner world in silence, and my outer life obeys. This is not a poetic phrase. It is a law. The external always mirrors the internal, and silence is the space where that internal reality is shaped. It is where you decide what to believe, what to release, and what to reinforce. And once you emerge from that silence, you carry with you a stillness that the world cannot shake. This is the mark of the truly powerful, not loudness, but groundedness. Not noise, but knowing. Let me tell you something most successful people won't say out loud. The greatest decisions they ever made, the career shift, the moment they walked away from something toxic, the commitment to build something extraordinary, did not come from logic alone. They came from silence, from prayer, from a quiet moment where something deeper than intellect gave them the next instruction. And that instruction, when followed, changed everything. You have access to that same guidance. You do not need to earn it. You only need to make space for it. And the moment you do, your life begins to move from scattered effort to focused energy. Silence is also the place where you reestablish your spiritual connection. You reconnect with God, with your higher self, with the part of you that is not afraid, not rushed, not confused. And from that connection comes insight, timing, and alignment. You no longer chase what isn't yours. You no longer force what isn't flowing. You move with wisdom, and wisdom moves with you. This is how spiritual wealth becomes financial wealth. Not through striving, but through clarity. Not through manipulation, but through understanding. When you are clear on the inside, the right opportunities on the outside become obvious. And when your mind is calm, your decisions become precise. You must understand this. Silence is not inactivity. It is preparation. Just as a seed lies still in the soil before it sprouts, so must your mind lie still before it grows. Just as a warrior stills himself before the strike, so must you still your mind before the action. Those who live only in motion burn out. But those who learn to pause, to reflect, to realign, they move with power. They waste less time, they miss fewer chances. They live with the rhythm of nature itself, action followed by rest, rest followed by vision, vision followed by decisive movement. This is the rhythm of abundance. And so I challenge you today, just 10 minutes. Find a space, close your eyes, and listen. Not for a booming voice or a dramatic sign, but for the quiet nudge, the subtle clarity, the gentle reminder that you already know what to do next. And as you make this a daily ritual, you will find that your mind becomes stronger, your spirit becomes calmer, and your actions become more effective. You will stop reacting and start creating, and in that shift, everything will begin to change. In the next part, we'll explore the invisible field of resonance, how your energy, thoughts, and spiritual state broadcast signals that either attract or repel abundance. But before we move on, I want you to anchor today's truth. Say it now. I master my inner world in silence, and my outer life obeys. Every human being is a transmitter. Whether they know it or not, they are constantly sending out signals through their thoughts, their emotions, their words, their beliefs. And life, like a perfect mirror, reflects those signals back with uncanny precision. This is the law of resonance. You attract not what you wish for, but what you are in harmony with. If your dominant emotional state is fear, you will unconsciously gravitate toward fearful outcomes. If your inner world is calm, grateful, expectant, and full of faith, your outer world will begin to reflect those qualities through opportunity, favor, and abundance. You do not need to chase anything. You simply need to radiate in alignment with what you want to receive. You are not a beggar of blessings, you are a broadcaster of energy. And the frequency you broadcast will always determine the results you experience. Think of the mind and heart together as a frequency tower. Your thoughts form the message, but your feelings determine the wattage. If you think wealth but feel shame, the signal is weak and distorted. If you think peace but feel frustration, the signal is split and sends mixed messages. But when your thoughts and emotions are in agreement, when they are clean, congruent, and sustained, your frequency becomes pure. And a pure frequency is magnetic. It does not need to convince or hustle or fight. It simply draws. This is how great leaders move crowds without shouting. This is how certain people walk into a room and change the energy without saying a word. They are radiating from within. Their state is aligned. Their inner world is ordered. And that order has power. Now here's the hidden truth. You are already broadcasting a frequency right now. You always have been. The question is not whether you're sending a signal, the question is whether it's the one you truly want to send. That's why so many people live in contradiction. They want abundance, but they broadcast lack. They want love, but they broadcast neediness. They want peace, but they broadcast chaos. And the world responds accordingly, not with cruelty, but with accuracy. The law of resonance is not emotional. It is precise. It does not deliver what you deserve. It delivers what you resonate with. And that is why inner work must come before outer success. Because when you change your frequency, you change your future. So how do you tune your frequency? You begin by becoming conscious of what you carry emotionally. Ask yourself throughout the day, what am I broadcasting right now? Not what you're saying, not what you're pretending, but what are you actually feeling? Is it stress, doubt, anger, or fear? Or is it peace, clarity, certainty, and trust? The shift begins with awareness. And from there you begin to install new emotions the same way you train new muscles, through repetition, consistency, and vision. Choose a few dominant states that align with your goal, gratitude, calm, confidence, joy, or certainty, and rehearse them. Practice feeling them even when your circumstances don't reflect them. This is emotional discipline, and over time it becomes your new baseline, your new broadcast. Let me offer you a law to speak now, one that will reprogram your emotional baseline and rewire your energetic signal. I radiate gratitude, confidence, and calm, and the world responds in kind. Say it with authority, type it below. Write it where you'll see it every day. Because this is more than a mantra. It's a spiritual code. It is a frequency you can choose to live in. And when you choose it consistently, your outer life will begin to organize itself in alignment with that code. People will start to treat you differently. Ideas will begin to come more easily. Opportunities will begin to feel less like luck and more like gravity. Because your energy has changed. And energy never lies. I want to tell you about a man who understood this deeply. He was not the most educated. He did not come from wealth, but every morning he would wake before the sun, sit in stillness, and rehearse his desired emotional state for the day. He would imagine himself as calm, disciplined, joyful, and favored. He would speak aloud what he was grateful for, even when he had very little. And throughout the day he would return to that inner atmosphere again and again. Years passed and his life began to change in ways that seemed impossible. Clients came, opportunities multiplied, his finances grew, his relationships deepened, and all of it came not from external striving, but from internal resonance. He had tuned his frequency, and life responded accordingly. The same can be true for you. You do not need to become someone else. You do not need to earn the right to feel powerful. You only need to take ownership of your emotional state. Every time you return to gratitude, you raise your vibration. Every time you act from confidence instead of doubt, you recalibrate your frequency. Every time you speak as if it's already done, you reinforce the signal. And over time, the signal becomes strong, it becomes clear, and life begins to mirror it. This is not fantasy. This is focus, and those who master it begin to live in a reality that seems miraculous to others but perfectly natural to them. The key, of course, is consistency. You cannot radiate abundance once a week and expect permanent change. You must live there. You must return again and again until it becomes your natural home. This is what the mystics called dwelling in the secret place. It means learning to live internally where you want to arrive externally. And when you do, you become unshakable. You stop reacting. You stop chasing. You start creating. And creation is the highest frequency of all. We'll go deeper in Part 7, where we explore how service, generosity, and contribution reinforce your frequency and accelerate the return of wealth. But for now, let this be your declaration. I radiate gratitude, confidence, and calm, and the world responds in kind. This law has been taught in every culture, in every era, under many names. In Scripture it is stated as, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." In business it is called value creation. In nature it is reciprocity. But whatever you call it, the law remains the same. What you sow, you reap. What you contribute, you attract. And what you give consistently returns multiplied. So if your desire is to grow wealth, whether financial or spiritual, the question is not how can I get more, but how can I give more? How can I solve bigger problems? How can I meet deeper needs? Because money, favor, and impact are not rewards for ambition. They are rewards for service. The deeper your impact, the greater your harvest. There is a law so powerful, so consistent, and so deeply woven into the fabric of the universe that to understand it is to hold the master key to both spiritual and financial wealth. That law is the law of service. Everything that grows, multiplies, or prospers in this world does so through the act of giving. The tree gives shade and fruit, the sun gives light, the river gives water, and the person who rises to greatness quietly or publicly does so by becoming a giver. You see, wealth is not something you chase, it is something you magnetize, and the magnet is service. The more people you serve, and the greater the value you provide, the more inevitable your success becomes. This is not motivational theory, it is economic law, spiritual truth, and universal design. Your rewards, both material and eternal, will always return in direct proportion to your service. But here's the beautiful part. Service is not just about external results. It transforms you internally. It removes self-absorption. It purifies intention. It raises your frequency. A generous person walks lighter, speaks clearer, and attracts opportunities not through manipulation, but through resonance. The person who is constantly giving value, whether in business, in relationships, or in spirit, begins to radiate abundance long before their bank account catches up. And that radiation draws more of the same. You've seen it before, that man or woman who seems to always be at the center of new opportunities, who others want to work with, follow, and support. What you're witnessing is not luck, it's compounded service. That's how the law rewards those who live it. Let me give you an example. A woman starts a business not with the aim of making money, but with the goal of solving a problem that once caused her pain. She creates with heart. She serves with clarity. She gives more than expected. And month by month her results grow. Not because she had better marketing or luck, but because she led with service. She understood the law, and the law responded. Another man in his career begins to rise, not because he asks for promotions or tries to impress, but because he consistently takes ownership of problems, helps others succeed, and acts as if the company were his own. Service again, and service never fails. It may take time, it may be quiet, but it never fails. I want you to claim a new law today, one that will shift your posture from seeking to serving, from anxious to abundant. I give freely, serve deeply, and prosper naturally. This is a principle to live by. Say it out loud, write it, type it below. Let it guide your decisions, because when you begin to ask, how can I serve, instead of what can I get, the entire energy of your life changes. People feel the difference. The marketplace feels the difference. Your subconscious feels the difference. And when that alignment occurs, when your intent is clean, your value is real, and your consistency is proven, nothing can stop the return. The world cannot help but pour back into the one who pours out with wisdom, intention, and excellence. Now I must warn you, many try to fake service. They give with strings attached. They calculate, they manipulate. But the law is not fooled. You cannot trick the universe. The return always matches the sincerity of the gift. So give honestly, serve generously, and most of all, do it consistently. Not once, not when you feel like it, but as a way of life. Let generosity become your default setting. Let excellence become your standard. Let contribution become your brand. Because once it does, the need to hustle, chase, or prove begins to dissolve. You become magnetic. You become trusted. You become rare. This is also where spiritual wealth deepens. When you give without needing applause, when you serve without needing credit, when you uplift others from a full heart, you begin to taste the joy that money can't buy. You feel light. You feel clean. You feel whole. That is wealth. Not just numbers, but harmony. Not just accumulation, but contribution. And once you know that feeling, you will never again chase emptiness, because you'll have found a path that fulfills and enriches at the same time. A path where giving and receiving flow in perfect rhythm. You see, service does not mean sacrifice. It means alignment. It means doing what you're uniquely wired to do, in a way that uplifts others and getting richly rewarded for it. That is the ideal. That is the aim. And that is the outcome for those who commit to this law. So whatever your current role, student, builder, parent, artist, leader, ask yourself today, how can I bring more value than anyone expects? How can I exceed what's required? How can I make everything I touch better? Those who answer that question daily never worry about prosperity again, because prosperity is simply the harvest of service over time. In Part 8, we will bring everything together into a single framework, a 7-day discipline for integrating all of these principles into your daily life, so that your inner world and outer world move together in harmony. But before we do, speak this truth one more time. Let it mark the beginning of your new identity. I give freely, serve deeply, and prosper naturally. Everything we've explored, from thought to emotion, from silence to service, now culminates in one great truth. The life you want is not waiting for you. It is already within you, waiting for alignment. You are not lacking anything. You are simply uncovering what's been buried by fear, by noise, by forgetfulness. The mind is the first frontier. The spirit is the compass. Action is the bridge. And when all three move as one, clarity of thought, purity of heart, and consistency of effort, you become a force that cannot be stopped. This is not philosophy. This is a spiritual strategy. And now, to live it fully, we must bring it into a rhythm, a discipline, because principles without practice remain theory, and practice without rhythm burns out. But rhythm, daily, deliberate, grounded rhythm transforms lives. I want to offer you now a 7-day discipline, one that integrates every law, every idea, every truth you've received in this series. For 7 days, you will live intentionally. And if you commit to it fully, you will not recognize your inner world by the end of the week. The goal is not perfection. The goal is alignment, and the purpose of these 7 days is to train your mind, elevate your spirit, and direct your energy toward the highest expression of your life. This will become your foundation, not a temporary challenge, but a gateway into a new identity. And once you walk through it, there is no turning back. Each morning, begin with 5 minutes of silence. Not scrolling, not reacting, just sitting, breathing, listening. Let your mind settle, let your awareness rise. In that stillness, ask, who do I choose to be today? Not what to do, not what to fix, but who to be. Let the answer come from within. Then, immediately after, speak the law of the day. These are not affirmations in the casual sense. They are commands to your subconscious, spoken with clarity, felt with emotion, believed with certainty. On day 1, I attract abundance through clarity, faith, and service. On day 2, I align my thoughts, feelings, and actions with abundance and peace. On day 3, I program my subconscious mind for peace, purpose, and prosperity. On day 4, I expect greatness and life delivers it to me daily. On day 5, I master my inner world in silence and my outer life obeys. On day 6, I radiate gratitude, confidence, and calm, and the world responds in kind. And on day 7, I give freely, serve deeply, and prosper naturally. After your morning silence and declaration, write down your intention for the day. Not a to-do list, a to-be list. For example, today I walk with certainty. Today I bring peace to every conversation. Today I listen deeply and speak with purpose. These are identity statements, and as you write them, you train your nervous system to respond. Throughout the day, return to your declaration as often as you can. Whisper it, breathe it, let it anchor you. When stress comes, return. When fear whispers, return. When doubt flickers, return. Repetition creates reality, and each return is a spiritual rep building the emotional muscle that will carry you far beyond these 7 days. Every evening, close the day in gratitude. Before you sleep, write down 3 things you did in alignment with your higher self, not outcomes, actions. Did you speak calmly? Did you give generously? Did you believe instead of doubt? Celebrate those, and then write 1 small shift for tomorrow. Just 1. Maybe it's to speak slower. Maybe it's to take a walk in silence. Maybe it's to give without expecting. These are not rules, they are reminders, and over time they will become your new normal. Because you are not here to live by default. You are here to live by design, and design requires review, reflection, adjustment, and recommitment. And so I offer you this. Repeat the 7-day discipline as often as needed. Make it a cycle, a rhythm, a return. Because life will try to pull you back into drift, into fear, into mindless routine. But you now know better. You have the map, you have the language, you have the laws, and above all, you have the ability to begin again, anytime you choose. You do not need permission. You do not need approval. You only need a moment of silence, a breath, a decision. And from that decision, a life begins to move in a new direction. Remember this, the ones who live with peace and power are not luckier. They are more aligned. They've made silence a sanctuary. They've made service a habit. They've made gratitude a practice. And they've made self-mastery a daily discipline. You can be that person. In fact, you already are. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you are without fear, without noise, without doubt. You were born with power, with wisdom, with the divine spark. All we've done in this journey is clear the fog, and now the path is in front of you. So I ask you now, one final time, not as a listener, but as a participant, will you live the law, or will you forget it? Will you let this be another moment of inspiration, or will you let it mark the beginning of transformation? The choice, as always, is yours. But if you're ready, truly ready, then speak it, live it, and embody it. I attract abundance through clarity, faith, and service. I align my thoughts, feelings, and actions with abundance and peace. I program my subconscious mind for peace, purpose, and prosperity. I expect greatness, and life delivers it to me daily. I master my inner world in silence, and my outer life obeys. I radiate gratitude, confidence, and calm, and the world responds in kind. I give freely, serve deeply, and prosper naturally. And now, if this series has shifted something in you, if the message stirred clarity, peace, or a renewed sense of purpose, I ask you, not for my sake, but for the sake of others walking the same road, share this, comment below, and keep the message alive. Because when one person rises in truth, it gives the rest of us permission to rise too.